Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Balanced Vibes podcast. I'm your host, Kirsten. Thank you so much for listening or tuning in on YouTube, watching the video. Thank you either way. Today, I'm going to answer three workout related questions. And actually, today's podcast and the next one too are going to be very similar in that I'm answering three questions directly about working out because I want to make sure that the workouts that you're doing are giving you the results that you want to get. And for most of us, of course, they mean getting stronger. A lot of us, it means losing body fat, overall increasing our fitness and health. So if these are your goals, we're going to talk about them. And of course, my focus is mostly on strength training because I have really found that this is the best tool, the best way of training for these goals that I just mentioned. So the next two episodes are going to be around this topic, and I'm going to answer three questions in both of these episodes that I have received from my followers, from my listeners, or my private one-on-one coaching clients. Before I dive into today's episode, I thought I would give you a little life update. What am I up to? What have I been up to? So, as some of you may know, I picked up salsa dancing some time ago, around the same time when I started learning Spanish, or salsa came a little bit later. But it has been so much fun. And I've been going to classes now most weeks, twice a week. I started mid-December. So on Mondays, the class is an hour. Sundays, it's 2 hours. And I have been having so much fun. And last weekend, we had a 2 day long course. And after the course, we got certified as level one beginner dancers. So this was super fun. I had really, really great time learning, putting things together, understanding how this thing works. Just it's so fun to put things together and see it work out because there's a lot of learning involved. Anything that we want to learn and get better at, there's a lot of you know learning and repetition involved. And when it starts to come together, when it starts to make sense, it's really great. And especially with dance, because there's a lot to learn, right? How to step and which way to turn and what is it all supposed to look like. And then you're dancing with your partner. So putting this together and seeing it work, it's so much fun. And I had always thought that I'm not a dancer at all. Like I cannot move myself in that way very well. I'm not very I don't understand choreography very well. I don't move smoothly at all. I always thought my hips are kind of like a piece of wood. This is the perception that I had of myself because I had tried a little bit of dance in the past, but it had never really worked out. And I remember that even when I was in college and took some random aerobics classes sometimes, even if it was something like step aerobics, I never got this because the coordination was off. I was slow to learn and it was just always a mess. And I hardly ever went back. But being here and taking those dance classes here, it's been great because when you have great teachers, you can actually make significant progress. And even if you see yourself the way that I did, oh, I can't do this, I'm not cut out for this. When you have great teachers who are really patient, then you get this. So this has been super fun. I'm looking forward to more dancing, and yeah, I think it's great because also another thing is that as adults, it's becoming harder and harder to, and I wouldn't say harder and harder, but like less and less common to learn new stuff, right? So most of us aren't, especially as we get older, like learning a new language or new skill or something new. Um, but it's very good for your body and for your brain to learn new patterns, repetition, 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 and just doing something different, pushing you outside of your comfort zone. So this is what I've been doing, and it has been so cool. Seriously, I didn't know that I could like this so much. So this is the life update that I wanted to share with you today. Okay, but why don't we move on to the three fitness questions and answers that I want to share with you today. The first one is that how do I work out when I am really sore? This is a good one. First of all, I want to say that, of course, you should never be chasing soreness. Soreness should be something that you determine, was my workout good or not, right? So you shouldn't use soreness as a way to know if you succeeded or not. This is never the thing. However, sometimes you may get sore. And if you get a little bit sore, it's not a big deal, right? A little bit of soreness, it's almost like maybe you have to search for it, like you did some shoulder work or upper back work, and now you got to move your shoulders and upper back and kind of feel it Oh yeah, I think I can feel it a little bit. Yes, I know now. I did some rows yesterday and I did some lateral raises yesterday. So yeah, I can feel it. So that kind of soreness is not bad. But sometimes you get really, really sore. What do you do then? And let's say that your goal is to work out 3 days a week, such as was the case for this woman who asked me this question. She's working out 3 days a week and she had already taken 2 rest days. She said, should I do the next workout or should I not? I'm still really sore. And my answer would be that still move your body. So the best way to get over severe muscle soreness is not to stay on the couch or in the bed and not move and hope that it will go away. It will take longer that way. Actually, what makes this process faster is when you get up and move a little bit. So go for walks and do a little bit of stretching. I know foam rolling can be incredibly painful when you try this, when your muscles are already really beat up and extremely sore. So maybe skip that or do it if you can, but you don't have to. But the easiest thing is to really to walk and stretch and stay in motion. But should you then work out or not? Well, I would say that if you can, right, it's not so sore that you you can't do anything. If you're still able to move, go ahead and do the workout after 2 days of rest, but just go much lighter. Right? This is not the time for you to aim for PRs. This is not the time for you to see really how much you can max out on. This is not a good time for that because also you are in a little bit of pain and it's just maybe less careful. So I don't recommend that you go and hit it really hard, but do lighter workout, use lighter weights, maybe rest a little bit longer, and also make sure that your warm up is a little bit longer. You want to be warmed up because that will also reduce the pain. So when you do your typical warm up, that's maybe like 5 to 10 minutes, and you just do the basic stuff. Then now focus a little bit more on the moves where that target the muscles that are sore, and always keep the warm up dynamic, right? So for example, for your hamstrings, let's say your hamstrings are really, really sore, you can do some inchworms, right? Where you bend over, you put your hands on the floor, you walk out, and then you walk back up, something like that. Or you can do the leg swings or things like that. Don't hold a long stretch before you get started with your workout. You actually want to make it dynamic because you want to tell your body what's coming next, right? So movement is coming next. So that's why I recommend to do a dynamic warm up. And also, yeah, like I said, spend a little bit more time warming the body up if you are really sore. Again, throw in an extra walk. This is always nice. And also make sure that you stay hydrated. So if you listened to my episode where I talked about the 5 nutrition myths, then staying hydrated doesn't only mean drinking just plain water, gallons and gallons of it. True hydration actually comes from having enough minerals in your water. So make sure that you do drink water and that you add those mineral drops that I talked about, or that you also take those adrenal cocktails, which is the coconut water mixed with some citrus fruit and salt. Make sure that you get salt. This is also really important for your mineral balance. So take care of your body that way as well. And then, yeah, if you can, go ahead and do that workout. Just keep things a little bit lighter. All right. The second question that I got was, what is this progressive overload that you are talking about? So this is a very, very important topic, a big topic. And we have to discuss this if you want to make progress with your lifts, if you want to build a faster metabolism, if you want to have a more flexible metabolism that doesn't freak out every time when you eat a piece of cake, if you want to have more muscle tone, if you want to improve your strength. These are all the reasons to use progressive overload in your training. Now, I'm going to tell you where progressive overload typically does not happen, and as a result, these workouts are not very effective. These are the circuit workouts where you are moving really fast from one exercise to another. Typically, you would do them like at Orange Theory, or you would do them at home, or you would do them using some sort of app which has those follow along workouts. It's very hard to do progressive overload like this because there's hardly any breaks between your sets, and there's hardly any time to go and switch your weights and pick up something heavier. So what is progressive overload then? It's basically this idea that over time you should be able to lift more or better or improve some ways. And the most typical way of doing this, and the easiest to understand, is to simply add weight. So let's say that you are squatting you're doing back squats with a barbell and you're squatting with 100 pounds, right? So now progressive overload means that over time you should be able to squat with 110 pounds and then maybe 120 and so on. So this is just one example. The same thing would be, for any other exercise. Let's use overhead press with dumbbells. If you always use the same 15-pound weights forever, then you are not progressively overloading because you are not increasing the weight that you're lifting. So progressive overload means this, right? So you're lifting more over time. Now, there are some other ways too to do progressive overload. The one that I just mentioned is just the easiest to understand. And I think for most women, it is the most important thing because we often don't realize that we have so much more in us. We can lift actually so much heavier. We're just using those circuit workouts or circus workouts, like I like to call them, and just rushing through them and not even thinking that I could lift a little bit heavier. Of course, now you could tell, well, I can lift heavier within that circuit too, right? I could use 20-pound dumbbells from overhead squat, or sorry, my overhead press. And yes, you could. It's definitely is a little bit more effective, but still, it's circuit. There's no perfect rest periods. You really are not realizing the whole potential that you have in you if you're just rushing from one exercise to another. And it's very hard to select proper weights for each exercise. So like I said, the most easier understand way to use progressive overload is just add more weight, but there are other ways too. For example, when you improve your mobility and as a result you can squat lower, right, as to grass, so to speak, you are also using progressive overload because now you are going through a bigger range of motion. And of course, if you go through a bigger range of motion, you are using more muscle, you're stimulating more muscle, and therefore there will be more load on them, right? So that's another thing. It's always worthwhile to work on your form and making sure that you are moving through the full range of motion as much as possible. So, for example, if you are squatting only halfway and you increase weights all the time, but at the same time, you cannot go low enough. I would rather have you work on your mobility so that you can get low enough, even if the weight doesn't come up, because your form is, of course, the most important thing always. Now, what is another way to do progressive overload is to slow down your repetitions. So this is especially helpful for somebody who is maybe limited as far as what kind of weights they have at home if they work out, and let's say it's 30 pounds that you have and that's all you got there, 30-pound dumbbells, and then you have lighter stuff, but you don't have anything heavier. Then the way you can make your squats heavier, for example, is to use tempo training. And I do this with my private coaching clients too, that I coach 3 days a week right now. They do have 30s at home, and then we just slow down the reps. So now we are squatting, we're slowly lowering down at 5 counts, right? So 5 seconds, slow squat, and then come up on 1. So this is another form of progressive overload because slowing down the tempo literally makes the rep feel heavier. And of course, another way to do progressive overload is increasing reps. And this is something that I kind of hesitate a little bit to talk about, but I will, because it is true that this is also a form of progressive overload. But the reason why I kind of hesitate a little bit is that a lot of women just keep adding reps or doing already too many reps to begin with, right? And then they might think that, oh, I did 15 of everything. Now I'm going to do 20 of everything. Instead, they should actually take some heavier weights and slow down the tempo. So I'm talking about like a typical woman who tends to do high reps all the time and is actually not benefiting from that anymore. But I still mentioned it here because it is true. It is a form of progressive overload too. So in general, if you have access to heavier weights, use it, right? Use those heavier weights, challenge your muscles a little bit more, and you see what starts to happen. Because this progressive overload really is very important for you to make progress, get stronger, get fitter, get leaner, build a more solid, flexible metabolism. Okay, and the last question I have here is, do I need to do HIIT or cardio training in addition to strength training? All right, of course, the answer to it is it depends. It mostly depends on your goals. But knowing that most people are here because they want to have stronger metabolism or flexible metabolism, as I have mentioned already many times today, and want to lose body fat and build muscle. For them, I would say no. You don't need to do additional HIIT training or cardio training. When I say cardio, I mean what most people mean, which is going for a run. When I say HIIT, it's your typical like 20, 25 minutes all out, crush it, kill it, that type of workout where you are breathless pretty much the entire time, maybe with an exception of like the short 10 to 15-second breaks that you have between the exercises. Generally speaking, I don't think that these are necessary at all. I personally don't do them myself at all. Actually, I take that back. I do run maybe once a month, about 40 minutes. This is what I do. This is for my fitness. This is for me. I want to see if I can still do it. And sometimes when I travel. Other than that, I don't. The only form of cardio is hiking and walking. Now a little bit of dancing, but even there, we're actually standing around a lot and learning the steps, which is pretty slow process. So it's not like fast dancing all the time at all. But if you have this thinking that you have to do HIIT twice a week and then you have to hit the treadmill for running, you absolutely do not. And you're so much better off by just doing 3 to 4 workouts that are strength focused. But you have to use a good program that uses progressive overload, that has straight sets in it, that gives you enough rest time. Now, if you think that you absolutely have to do HIIT because otherwise you're not going to lose body fat, you're wrong. You are wrong about this. You are not supposed to. I mean, you can, but you don't have to. And the other reason also why I don't like HIIT training is that so many people are actually not ready for it. They think they are, but they're not because they're already really stressed out. They're sleeping pretty poorly. Diet is oftentimes very bad because they're under eating the calories, they're over caffeinated, they have a lot of stress in their life. So this is the last person that I would tell to go and do HIIT training. So if this is you, you first have to start from the foundation, build your body back up again, start feeding your body again, and then of course throw in some strength training. Make sure you do like 3 days a week or so, but take the HIIT training out and see what starts to happen, because otherwise it will just be too much stress on the body. And of course, I know that the idea is always like, oh, more is better. Let me do one HIIT training more because I want more body fat. Well, more is actually not better. And this is what we're going to talk about in the next episode too. I have an interesting story to share with you, but more is not better. Sometimes resting is better, and definitely smarter training is better than more training. Okay, so I hope that this is clear. And I know when I didn't understand the strength training myself very well at all, I always doubted this. I would literally look at people at the gym and be like, what are they doing? Like, this is just so slow. The way they move is slow. I don't feel like they're getting much out of it. Why aren't they pushing themselves harder? It should look like, sweat and calories and burn and all that. It does not have to look like this. All you do with this is just stressing your body out too much. And by the way, this may have worked well for you in your 20s, but when you get to your 40s and beyond, it's not going to work that well anymore because your body is becoming more sensitive. So you really have to focus on strength training. Okay, so this is all I got for you today. I also want to enjoy. I want to invite you to join my Fit and Fuels Facebook group for much more conversations like this. I go live there every Monday evening, and we have a lot of topics there. Community is growing, so it's a great place to be. So request to join my group. It is called Fit and Fueled, and you can find it on Facebook. All right, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you again in the next episode. Bye.